Alright guys, I'm back here with a brand new video and a guide to Wild Rift, here to talk to you about the Burst Mage, the Dark Child, Annie. Annie is a mid laner that's a burst champion and scales really well into the mid game and late game due to her CC, her everything on her kit is really good, her laning phase is good, everything and all that. So let's go on with her abilities. So for her passive, it's called Pyromania. So Pyromania here, it says that after casting 4 abilities, the next offensive ability stuns enemies on hit for 1.25 seconds. Now here are the statistics. These are from the League of Legends PC version, wherein her stun is scaling from 1.25 to 1.75 based on level. So once you get to level 13, where you have your max on, when you maxed out your third ability, most likely it'll be 1.72 seconds. It's like 2 seconds, but you know, it's the same thing. So luckily for Wild Rift, you can see if you already stacked your Pyromania. So we'll come back to Pyromania. We're gonna talk about what abilities that can utilize it best. We can rank that from the first ability, second ability to the ulti, since the third ability cannot use Pyromania since it is a non-offensive ability. So there we go. Another thing is to note, if you were actually in a team fight and you didn't use your Pyromania, once you respawn, Pyromania is gone, so you have to stack it again. So for her ability is Disintegrate. So Disintegrate's higher, she throws a fireball, explodes in a small area, dealing 80 damage depending on the level. Killing an enemy refunds Disintegrate's mana cost and halves its cooldown. So it's really self-explanatory. This is her main CSing ability, so if you're in lane, you might as well use this a lot, since if you do it perfectly, kill the CS, you can get your mana back, no mana cost, easy. So Annie is really good at CSing in the early game. She has the best, not the best, she has one of the good laning phases of all mages. So yeah, if you're new to League of Legends PC and Wild Rift, Annie is one of the best. When I started out playing League of Legends, I was actually using Annie for the first weeks because she's really easy. You turn Disintegrate, you just have to queue your first ability or the minions and you get gold. Here's her statistics. So it ranges from 80 to 220 with an 80% ratio of AP. So yeah, that's it. This is her main ability. You want to max this first, since it's the main damage ability. But of course, in League of Legends PC, it's a point and click, and in Wild Rift, it's a skill shot, which is actually fine, since Wild Rift features a auto aim, which will be a lot more easier if you're a new player. Next is her W, which is Incinerate. Now Incinerate is one of the most important kits and it's actually eyes closed because she knows that it's one of the important parts of her kit, since it's a cone of, it releases a cone of fire that deals 70 damage to all of the enemies within it. It's cone AoE, it's really good. So here's the magic damage ratio with an 85% AP ratio. So basically, between the two, if I were to pick from the first ability or the second ability, which is Incinerate, and if you have your passive on, I would pick the second. Reason behind this is an AoE area of effect. So once you stun a lot of people, basically you win the game. This is for early game. Now we're gonna go back to the rankings once we talk about our ulti, but for now we're gonna talk about our third ability, which is Molten Shield. So the Molten Shield is actually one of the difference of League of Legends PC and League of Legends Wild Rift, since Molten Shield is actually a real shield. It shields you for around 60 damage plus 60% of the AP. So they have here the ratios for the League of Legends Wild Rift version of the Molten Shield. She shields herself and Tibbers. If you summon Tibbers and use E, then the shield will be on Tibbers as well. So back then this was an option to press but now it's actually a good part of her kit. That's why Annie was really buffed on the Wild Rift. It's really buffed than her PC counterpart. So that's about it. Also, if enemies attack that shield, they will take 25 and plus 30. So in League of Legends PC, yeah, it's an aura. It's actually damage reduction rather than the shield, which is, I guess it's kind of better. the Legion's PC is kind of rare since it's damage reduction, but if you're talking about shields, this is actually really good, 60%. So if you have like 200, you have 60%, 120, you have a 200 damage shield, which is like around 10% of your health. Now time for ulti, which is summon Tibbers. Tibbers is really the burst part of Annie, second to her W and Q. So basically you summon Tibbers, that's really it in an AoE fashion. So let's say here's the lane, here's you, here's your guy, and let's say you can actually summon Tibbers here, and if you have Pyromania, the enemy champions will get stunned too. So yeah, so Tibbers is a really good part of her kit too. If you're in team fight, in Baron, Dragons, she's really good, especially when you have Pyromania, her passive. So yeah, so let's go on. Actually, another thing is when you get Tibbers not only has a burst damage, but he has a burn damage per second when nearby enemies. And another thing is, if Annie dies, Tibbers goes on a rampage, which he does a lot of damage too. So let's talk about her. Here we go. Here's the ratio. You can get to around a really big chunk of, let's say if you have 200, still in the late game you already have around 500 AP. So if you have 370, you're doing 775 damage. So that's really huge for Annie, especially if you're using one of the items that I'll be talking about later. So here we go. So we're going to rank the best abilities to max. Of course, you want to max R first. It's always good to have that, but it's the most prioritized to max. Next will be the Q, which is the second ability. This is the fourth ability. The second for. Oh wait, no. That's first ability. Q, first ability. Since for laning phase, it will help a lot. And then for W, and then for E, which is the 1, 2, 3. So fourth ability first, into the first ability, into the second, into the third ability. That's all you need. So basically, if you have your passive Pyromania, you wanna prioritize using ulti or your Incinerate, which is your W, fourth ability, second ability, rather than your Q, because your Q is only one target only. So basically, if you're in a team fight and you use Q, chances of losing that team fight is really big, since you only stun one person. Wherein you use your second ability, you cone them in a triangle, they're all stunned. Wherein another thing is, if you use your ulti, Tibbers summon they're an area effect, stunning everybody in between, you might win the game because of that. So yeah, another thing, that's one of the best things about Annie too, is her combo. If you have flash, you flash in, you use your fourth ability, your ulti, AoE, and then you use your second ability, which is Incinerate, basically killing everybody. Especially if you have the Infinity Orb, which we'll talk about next in her items. So here are items. First, you want to go Ludens, prioritize Ludens because for the mana, of course. Next here is an interesting choice, which is the Oblivion Orb. I mean the Infinity Orb. So Infinity Orb is really interesting since it's one of those items that I did not expect to be really broken, because it's not really that part of the kit. It's not really that good if you're a scaling champion, but if you're a burst champion, just like Annie, you can basically take this because it will critically strike. It will do magic damage, which will crit. Yes, it will crit to those who are 35. Essentially, this is an execute item. Essentially, it's an execute item. So you can use it for also. I guess you can use it also for Orianna, Ziggs. We'll talk about Ziggs in the next video, because Ziggs is a special case. He has a lot of build paths, but yeah, basically this is the build path for Annie. You go to Zago, Infinity Orb. You want to prioritize Stasis actually. if you're like up against an assassin like Zed, or there's a Master Yi in the jungle, Xin Zhao, Jarvan form, basically those champions who can go dive onto you, since Annie is really an immobile champion per se. If you don't have flash, basically if they all in you, you're dead. So if you're like, there's like everybody, you want to prioritize stasis into a Ninja Tabi or a Tenacity Merc Treads, depending on your and on the enemy team. If there's a Fizz, go Merc Treads. If there's a Zed, go Ninja Tabi. So the next item after Stasis and the Infinity Orb, it's either the two, these two can interchange, is the activated Soul Stealer. Now, if you completed the activated Soul Stealer, basically when Tibbers dies, there's only a time for Tibbers to be alive. Basically, when Tibbers dies, you can respawn him again. That's how broken this item is. Especially if you're, that's why you have to go we're gonna talk about the runes later. So basically you're gonna have only 10 CDR here, but you're gonna have 30 CDR here, combined with this rune, you're gonna have 40% CD, including the stacking CD from this guy. So yeah, that's it. And basically you have to top it off with Rabadon's or Stick of Truth. I still don't know the name for some reason. I played League of Legends for 7 years, but I still don't remember the name. So you can also interchange if you're really behind. You can actually get Liandry's instead of the Liandry's instead and go for it last item. So these guys interchange. You can go Liandry's and then that, so you can have your health. Yeah, that's about it. Last thing we're gonna talk is before we talk about runes is the spells. I always go heal, because heal is really good, especially if you're against a Zed in the lane. But if you're talking about late game, you can go exhaust. So if you're really good at pointing your ability spells to anybody, you can go exhaust, since exhaust is really good, halves the damage output. For example, if there's a Zed, he ultis you, you exhaust him, chances are there's a 30% chance that he can't burst you down. And if you have a stasis, so if he dives you in turret, he's essentially dead. So let's talk about runes. So here's more in-depth runes. You wanna go with this? I don't remember the name because there's nothing else like this in League of Legends BC. This has a free AP damage. No, free AP stats with a magic penetration, so that's really helpful. Of course, we have to go Electrocute because Annie has one of the best combos. If you all in, you just flash ulti WQR. This will help. This does a lot of damage too. We're gonna go Rhino Guy because Rhino Guy gives you tenacity and health, so that's really good. It's better than having this because you're literally just throwing your all tenacity. And we're gonna go Ingenious Hunter. Ingenious Hunter, rather. It's not Ingenious Hunter, which gives you a lot of CD. So it'll help you get to that 40% CD, so you can have Tibbers on all the time. So here we go. Here's the situation on how to use Annie. So basically Annie really needs to be one of those laners that will have to roam every now and then. She doesn't like to be in the mid lane, but of course you have to prioritize your CS2. So we're up against a Fizz here. As always, if it's a Fizz or if it's a Zed, here's how you play Annie. So you wanna crush the wave, simple as that, just QQ, so he will lose CS. You can either ward in the blue or you can ward the Raptors, depending on your choice. Now once he pushes out lane, you can freeze. Annie has one of the best freeze because basically she's free CS2 with her Q. So once you get your CS around here, you get that around here, she's basically really broken now since nobody can CS against her. So yeah, that's her laning phase. So let's say your jungler, if you actually have a decent jungler, goes for, let's say, a dragon in the dragon lane, and your dragon and you want to help, basically you can just guard him right here. If an enemy goes here, you can just ulti with Tibbers, Pyromania stacked. If they go here, same thing. Basically Annie's really good guard and can go or can get guard the dragon. And if the other team is doing dragon, most likely they will be right here, clustered up together, just ulti, boom, get there. Same with Herald, same with Baron. Basically, Annie has the tools for game changer, turning the tides around. So if you're up against I forgot about talking about if you're against an Orianna or an Ahri. Let's say if Orianna, Ahri, Ziggs, all you have to do is the same thing, you just freeze. Instead of crashing the lane, early game you want to path here, put a ward here, or path here, put a ward here, depending on your... As long as you have wards in one section, that's all you have to do, basically. So yeah, if you are up against like control mages like Orianna, you want to freeze the lane as much as possible, and once you hit 5 or once you hit level 5 where you have ulti, you can go rogue, because the Orianna, the control mages are just gonna stay in lane unless they actually want to sacrifice their own scaling abilities. So yeah, that's about it. Basically, just Annie is a good champion to be using team fights. You want to be team fighting a lot, since Annie is, but you don't want to sacrifice your gold, some Raptor gold. You don't want to sacrifice all of that. You will have to think wisely. It depends on you. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I can talk about Annie, the Dark Child. Hope you guys enjoy, and hope you guys bring it to the Summoner's Rift in Wild Rift. It's actually not Summoner's Rift, it's just the Wild Rift. So hopefully you guys learned the lesson, and if you want to see more of other champions, please do comment, do subscribe to the channel as well. It'll really mean a lot to me if you subscribe, so I can create more content just like this. And yeah, see you guys later. Peace out.